Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Frankie here again with another movie review. Second of the day. I should do this more often. One movie night afternoon or evening time and another movie at night time. That's brilliant. And here's another sci-fi movie. This is about the third one in a row now. And I thought I don't watch sci-fi movies often. But there was a movie called Assassin that's also sci-fi. And another movie called what is the other one called? The Tomorrow Job. So yeah, I have watched sci-fi and mixed them with other genres before. I have no idea what to think of this movie. I'm very confused with what I just watched. It's going to be hard for me to explain. It's a looping horror. So kind of like the movie Coherence and Happy Death Day. It loops basically. And it's tough to explain this one because when something loops, it's sort of mind, it sort of messes around your mind a little bit. The movie is called Brightwood. And it's about this married couple that, jog in the park. And they're sort of stuck in a time warp, where this pond is. I'm not going to explain scenes in order because they're kind of confusing. I'm going to cut the bone bits. I'm just going to talk over like a normal kind of thing. I'm not going to break it down because that's going to be kind of long and confusing. But yeah, it's just so... I like horrors like this because it makes you ask questions more and it keeps looping. It makes you go, what the hell? It fascinates me. But this one right here, the ending kind of confused me a bit. I'm just going to talk about certain scenes in it. There's scenes where they're not bickers and there's scenes where they're just stressed out. And they keep going to this like... like the sign that where the park is called no swimming, and this guy has like there's a scene where this guy where Dan jogs, is like he's looking for like jogs or somebody. This is his first stop, and then something bumps into him. He thought it was Jen. It was actually, I think I'm going to say it because people that are watching, you probably gathered already. It's actually a future version of himself, or like somebody else basically. You know what it is. And then you see like a scene of like Jen just picking up 2 earphones, and then she starts wondering, I don't have to only have one pair. And then they sort of like keep jogging around the park and it's all like confusing. Then they keep going and it keeps up at the same sign, and then you see Jen just having like a little jog, and she sees like someone like wearing a brown type of hoodie, and that's going to be significant. Basically, and she sees that and she's like, what's going on there? Weird that she didn't approach what's happening there. It's quite weird. Anyone would say hello at this point. And then in one scene Dan sort of scares her, and then he laughs sadistically when they keep going to the same sign. In one scene it got quite creepy. I got to admit, it got quite, it's just the feel of it. The movie kind of gave me a bit of anxiety in the sense of like, it made me a bit nervous and scared for some reason. It's weird. It's not a scary movie. It comes under horror. It's quite obvious how and why it comes under horror. And yeah, so they're just wondering what on earth is going on, and they start talking about the love choice, and they always walk through the same trail, as you can imagine. And then they come across this dude in like a hoodie. I assume it's a dude. And yeah, they come across this guy in a hoodie. And they're saying, help us, please help. And then they sort of like, and then this guy in the hoodie just told, the guy is Dan, basically. And this is I think the feature version of him. And then the guy tells them to run. They heard run, in another, way before the scene, when they heard run, and that's what they were hearing. And so, as soon as Dan turned round, somebody, I think it was, who was it? And I think another version of himself stabbed Jen and then killed her, and then he goes through the woods and he's sort of scared, and then as soon as he runs back, he bumps into like Jen, and he's just like, oh my god, and Jen was like, oh my god, you scared me. He's like, oh my god, Jen, you're here, oh goodness. And that scene also happened before that happened as well. You know what I mean when you watch it, and he's sort of scared. And he couldn't tell her why he was scared. And then they come across like a child that they've never seen before, as such, in one scene. And then they sort of come across like they sort of talk amongst themselves, and you see like you see Dan you see like another Dan come out of nowhere and hit him over the head. And then Jen just sort of acts like that's... I have no idea. I got very confused. I'm sort of... It feels like I've been manipulated in this movie, you know. Even though I wasn't acting it. It just felt all very confusing. And then they sort of like... and obviously they have the same conversation again with earphones again. And the guy says he wants signal. But this time it changed a little bit where he walks off and he wants signal. And you also have a scene where... I think he dies as well. That Dan dies again. I have no idea what... They sort of go into a tent. And then I'm very confused how to describe this whole entire movie right here. I'm just picking up bits and pieces of it. And they come across like a tent. And basically it's Dan's corpse. I couldn't quite see it clearly. Maybe it's because of an iPad, because I'm watching an iPad. Actually, that won't be it. Excuse me. Maybe it's because I didn't have the brightness turned up all the way. Excuse me, I have another burp back there. Damn, you can see my chest burp. And then Dan gets killed yet again. And then you see Jen start running. And she sort of trips into this pile of guts. Yeah. You can see why it's under horror element. Now, bear in mind, I did watch this movie on a trailer a while back. And it's not my sort of movie. And I had to watch it. I didn't know it was going to be this sort of movie though. I did not expect this to happen. Bear that in mind. That's a good thing about, you know, movies that you haven't watched. It surprises you like this. Like the trailer didn't... I don't remember the trailer giving these scenes away at all. And so basically she keeps running. She puts like a... she puts her hood up. She then hears... her and Dan... in like the past situation that happened before Jen got stabbed. She hears them. I don't know if she can see them properly. I think you can see them clearly a bit. I'm pretty sure you can. And then, but she sees this. She still sees the like the future Dan like standing there. And there was also one scene that interested me the most is when I thought they were actually gonna, reveal the truth, where her and Dan were just standing like behind a tree, and they saw their version arguing, like at the start of the movie or wherever it was before the start of this happening, and then they started to figure out what's going. I'm surprised they ever figured out. They figured out it's a loop that late on in the movie. They should have been realizing it. The acting from there wasn't bad actually. I've got to say the acting was good for this movie, but then they start seeing like a version that didn't happen, and key didn't happen when you watch the movie. Was when the other Dan came and started attacking him. So that's that scene that I was a good job I remembered that scene. But then you start to see Jen go in the water where it says no swimming. She then, like walks into the surface and she comes across like this mirror on the rock. And I'm not sure. She then tries. I don't know what she was thinking, trying to pick it up. And as soon as she was about to pick up, somebody, I think that her other self hit her over the head and killed her. And then they drag her body, and then you see like the other version of Dan right there, and then they start eating them. They start acting like cannibals. All this to me, it's very like confusing. I love Lupin Hall. I've seen Lupin Hall, right? Coherence confused me. That's because Coherent, there's different versions of them and it kept looping. I never thought Lupin horrors would be like that. I imagine looping to be like them just looping. Oh yeah, okay. I think I get. I can imagine it to be Happy Death Day where it just keeps looping and looping. Just them themselves just loop. But obviously there has to be other versions of yourself in it. So yeah, I should have realised that. I mean, I knew Lupin entailed that, but I didn't think it was going to tell multiple people like that. I didn't think it had to. And also one scene that interested me the most was when they looked in the tent and Jen just picked the guy's, Dan's phone and said, they looked at the photos and she saw another version of Dan underwater. What? I have a few theories to this movie. Please give me your feelings. Please watch this movie first, because my mind is just boggled. Watch the movie first and please tell me your thoughts and tell me your theories. I have a theory to this. I literally thought it was them. I thought it was going to end with them learning a lesson after all this looping, and then they get out of the woods. But it wasn't exactly like that. I think for me, I think they hate each other so much that they end up hating themselves, and I think that's where the other version of them come into it, because it's almost like they hate what they are and they hate what they become in that marriage. But then it's almost like I thought it was going to be about them learning a lesson in their marriage. That's why it's happening. I thought the paranormal thing that was happening was just them trying to tell them, no, you got to learn a lesson. It misled me to think like that. I didn't like it. I kind of preferred them to learn a lesson first. This version right here, I'm not quite sure about the end part. I don't know what they were getting at with this. Maybe there's a deeper reason. I don't know what I could say. Or another theory possibly is that they're dead and they keep reliving the same moments, but it doesn't explain why there's more of them if they're dead. So if they're dead, it would just be like their body that they see on the floor. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's looping. I would say the parts that they would go around the pond is looping, and the stuff that they were seeing was looping. But I don't think this part is necessarily looping, because the way they die is different. So it didn't actually show them dying the same way, which would have made more sense. But it would make more sense if they were dead the entire time. But to show them as cannibals, yeah, maybe it also relates to what I think was it Dan said. We're probably going to be stuck here for eternity. That also is another thing with looping, but sometimes there's a way to get out of the loop, and that's a change, the decisions or the choice that you make. That could have also been another thing in the movie they could have actually put in, because Jen mentioned something like that. So it would have been cooler. It would have been better if they had that as well instead. Yeah, then again, the producer, writer and director of this movie has a better idea what they were making here, so they would obviously, address this situation and address what the plot of the movie actually is. Because we know they're in a loop, but surely they should have broken out the loop, shouldn't they? I'm bothered about this. They turned to cannibals. Never expected that at all. Yeah, despite this movie having only 2 characters in it, it's difficult to talk about because of the theme of the movie. And I love these type of movies, but I need to be more clear. There's got to be a setting. There's got to be a sense of, clearance on it and closure. I know looping is not necessarily meant to make sense because it keeps going round and round, but usually there's a way to break that cycle. So maybe they were dead for eternity, and they just, I don't know what, that doesn't make any sense to me. Unless there were 2, because when that person did turn around, Jen said, oh, he looks like you. I don't think he looked like him. I thought he looked a bit different than him. Maybe they made him way older. I don't think so. But there was multiple versions. I don't really understand. But I do, obviously, the situation that was there, they were witnessing future events that was coming. So what's coming next, they witnessed them. So yeah, but it seems like time, because at the start of the movie, the guy was like, oh crap, and the guy scared Jen again. And this is when he witnessed Jen down. But in that scene I'm talking about is at this, before the Jen death, way before that. So I think in that woods, the time sort of like overlapped, and you sort of have like one thing happening way, half an hour after that happened, but then that scene comes in. It's very confusing. So it loses basically because it's all different things happen in different time frames. So that's why they're experiencing these sort of things at those moments in time. Those moments. I love movies like this. Would I put it under sci-fi? No, I don't think I would put it. I would put it under horror and drama. Probably not necessarily sci-fi. I didn't get a sci-fi feel to it. I didn't. Because I believe in time. So maybe they thought because it's time looping, it's not real. I mean, that's probably what they meant. Yeah. If you love this type of movie, you love coherence. Happy Death Day. I'm not sure it's a horror comedy. I've seen the first one. I think I've seen both of them. First one's better. It's a proper version. The second one, not as good as the first. But yeah, I don't know what to say. The rating for this is tough. At first I was hooked because it's Lupin, it's my sort of thing, so I was intrigued. The ending and what was happening, it didn't quite make much sense. It's like the producers just put something in and just thought, okay, it could work like this because Lupin's just more of a mystery. Man, I'm not sure what to rate this. I mean, even the title, I didn't realise it was called Brightwood. I thought it was called something else, because I did see the trailer to this movie. I do recognise it. And when I read about it, I was like, yeah, I recognise, I watched the trailer for this. Don't remember being called Brightwood. Excuse me. Don't remember it called being Brightwood anyway. I mean, even that name, I'm thinking, is that like a theory to the name too? Because when you give films the titles, it had to make sense. What is the rating for this? What should I give it? I would give it a 7, but I wouldn't say it's a decent movie. I would just be like, it's interesting, but it's average. Acting was probably the only best thing. The storyline was okay, until that it got a bit confusing at the end. Maybe it wasn't actually them that was doing it. Maybe it was something else, but then it was all versions of them. They could have been cool if they added like other characters so other events happen and they witness it. I mean, that would have been wise, and they just warn them about it, which would have been cooler. But yeah, it was only about married couples, so yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to include extra people like that. And also, I mean, how did they get the editing? Has to be on point, because I think you have to bring in like doppelgangers, or at least like doubles. They're not stunt doubles, but people that look like them, in order to make the story like go a little bit with the time loop, because it's very hard to make time loop in horror, or any time looping type of movie, because some lines are going to be repeated, and it's going to get quite annoying and repetitive. But then you have to come with it. Then you have to say the new line. So looping is going to be. It must be hard to actually try and make a movie out of, because then you got to make sure you got to do something like you did it in the previous scene. You got to try and repeat it. So it's kind of like you're doing an outtake, but you're not. It's actually a different scene, but different storyline from that scene, because it's looping. It's quite genius. It's quite difficult to do. I mean, I've got no experience in doing that. Yeah, I mean, I did do media in college, but not making these type of movies, like mostly adverts and music videos. That's about it. And magazines and stuff like that. That's it. But not movies like this. It'll be difficult. But yeah, but the scene, I like the scenes where they're watching themselves back. I kind of enjoyed that, and they remembered it, which was where they would have to anyway. Rating 5 out of 10. It's fairly standard. I think the only good thing was the acting, and the first half of the story I thought was interesting. Predictable, because I kind of knew what it was going to be about anyway. Kind of got an insight from the trailer and the description. But yeah, improvement probably maybe second half of the movie. Maybe make it less confusing as to why that's all happened. They could have made it a bit more longer, so I can get more clarity on the story, I guess. Like what is actually the main plot to it as well. What was actually the end goal to it? I mean, why did they end up being cannibals? Maybe it's because they were dead for eternity. That's what it is, because they're stuck in a time loop, so they can't escape. That's probably what it is. But it didn't feel that way to me, and especially when they was eating each other, I didn't quite feel that. Probably have a bit more going on, possibly. No, I think they did enough. But again, it just felt average to me. I just got a bit confused. That's probably why I gave it a 5. It's questionable. People might rate this lower. People might rate it higher. Yeah, I feel like 5 is enough. If I got a number in my head, that's usually the number it feels like to me. So yeah, 5 out of 10 it is. If you enjoyed the video, please give a like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification below. So see you in my next video.